Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Beyond Borders, Refugee Realities, brought to you by SJSU Journalism. I'm Ryan Carlson.
And I'm Javen Luan. We'll be following the journeys of migrants throughout Europe, Asia, and Latin America, with an end destination of the United States, the land which many want to reach. Let's prepare for the trip with some facts.
In a 2018 Pew Research survey, about half of Americans said the U.S. had a responsibility to accept refugees into the country.
About 74% of people voting Democrat agreed with this, including independent voters leaning toward Democrat, but only 26% of people voting Republican or leaning toward Republican agreed. Let's start in Greece, on Lesbos Island, where 5,000 refugees have arrived the past 3 weeks alone. That's according to the Aegean Boat Report, a non-profit organization making rescues. Many migrants risk their lives crossing the sea from Turkey, only to find despair at a refugee camp called Morea. Jose Francisco Gouveia spoke with a young refugee living in Morea who is always on guard.
Beyond the soothing waves and aesthetically pleasing boats riding the Mediterranean Sea, stories of families risking their lives sink deep in the minds of migrants coming into Greece. On the island of Lesbos, near the capital city of Mytilene, a government-run camp named Moria stockpiles more than 8,000 migrants in a space created to only hold about 2,000. Once arriving in Greece, migrants face more traumatic events in dirty, overcrowded refugee camps.
You will stay for 3-4 months, then you leave to Athens, then you leave to other countries. They show us so simple, so easy. But when I arrived in here, suddenly changed.
20-year-old Hodad Mohammadi has lived in the camp for 2 years. He came from Afghanistan and shares a converted shipping container with 10 other people, mainly from his native country, and a few people from Iran. Others here are from the Middle East and Africa. Some sleep in tents. There's no privacy or personal space. Mohammadi shot this video showing a clash that took place in the camp. Rocks were thrown and others found shelter to escape injury. Within the camps, migrants from different nations clash, causing stress and uncertainty for residents. Greek soldiers and police monitor their life inside, creating a prison camp atmosphere.
Last year, there was a fight between Arabic and Afghan people, but I cannot judge who started but yeah, they arrested Afghan people.
Mohammadi says the soldiers don't interfere when there are clashes, but rather laugh and ignore the ongoing issues. Making matters worse, police enclose the area in which a clash ignites, causing some to join the fight, even when they didn't initially choose to. They have no choice but to defend themselves. Mohammadi is no stranger to conflict. At 16 years old, he served in the Syrian war and saw his close friend die in front of him. But he is determined to move ahead, past Syria, past Moria.
I like to learn, not specific things, whatever, just I'm learning Greek, English, podcasting.
Mohammadi doesn't only invest his time learning, but also teaching. He helps others create podcasts, and he's a translator from Farsi to English. Mohammadi says single men in the camp his age often fall to drugs or alcohol, but he chooses to use his time to grow as a person. Rather than letting his hardships get the better of him, he strives. On Lesbos Island, I'm Jose Francisco Gouveia.
As San Jose State students were reporting on Lesbos this summer, one of them made a sobering discovery. Chris Core spotted a dozen life jackets that had freshly washed ashore, along with pieces of a ripped rubber raft. He made the discovery the same day 7 migrants died while trying to cross the sea during a storm. We cannot verify that the life jackets and raft belong to the victims, but authorities at nearby Karatepe Refugee Center tell us it's highly likely.
Joining us now is Chris Core, the journalism major who found the wreckage. Thanks for being here, Chris. How did you spot the raft and life jackets, and what went through your mind?
Yeah, so originally I just needed a break from the project. It was 3 weeks in, we saw a lot, so I went for a jog to kind of just free my mind from it, and I ended up seeing something in the corner of my eye that was really bright, and I headed over to it and saw it was a bunch of life jackets, and it was just kind of eye-opening that even on a time I was trying to take a break, there was no escaping from what was going on.
We understand that at least one of the life jackets appears to have belonged to a young child. Can you tell us how you know that?
Yeah, the life jacket itself was a lot smaller than all the other ones. It also had a neck support for a smaller child. It was also designed, had tape on it that someone put on for a parent to strap it to their body to keep the child close. And nearby also there was a toy for a lot smaller child.
Finally, can you give us a sense of what it was like in Greece and in Italy too, talking with everyday citizens about the refugee crisis?
Yeah, there was a lot of tension between refugees and citizens. A lot of people are uncertain whether the refugees are uncertain of where they are specifically and where they are going. And the citizens are really uncertain about how their lives are going to change with so many people coming into the country. So as a whole, everyone's just uncertain of where things are going to end up in the end.
Thank you. That was Chris Kaur, journalism senior at SJSU. Thanks for joining us, Chris. While refugees are flooding into Greece, they're not moving out. The 3-year-old deal between the European Union and Turkey has all but fizzled out. It had to require Turkey to accept migrants back who had been deported from Greece. As immigrants wait, the asylum process is a complicated one. Families with children have a slight advantage, although multiple criteria must be met to qualify.
The psychological assessment, it's part of the vulnerability assessment, it's part of the age assessment, it's part of the family unity, family composition assessment, so it is currently an important gap.
This week, the Greek government promised to make asylum-seeking procedures even tougher.
Another European country where migrants flock is Italy. Earlier this year, the government shut down many refugee services. Thomas Soares reports.
It's easy to fall under the spell of Italy. The rolling hills, the trendy shops, the lazy afternoons. But thousands of refugees can't enjoy what the tourists appreciate. They're fighting to regain a sense of personal freedom.
If you live, you don't have a place, you sleep in the streets. Yeah. Sometimes they will tell you that your camp is finished, you have to move out. So it's left to you where you want to go, you go there.
In my opinion, migration will never stop. It's normal. It's normal also for us to move all over Europe, and migrants will never stop. In my opinion, we should work for legal migration.
As resources shrink, so do the possibilities for refugees such as Osua.
Yeah, I still believe that I can still make it. Yeah. Because life is full of ups and downs. So you have to be patient.
At Camp Caramineo, Sicily, I'm Thomas Soares.
A new Italian prime minister has formed a coalition between the center-left Democratic Party and the anti-ISIS established Five Star Movement. They're expected to soften hard line on refugees.
In Italy, many people draw a sharp distinction between political refugees and economic migrants. In a 2018 poll, Pew Research found that 56% of Italians supported taking in refugees who are fleeing violence and war, but only 23% supported migrants who moved to Italy for other reasons. Some older Sicilians with generations of history on the island foresee long-term consequences of loose immigration laws. This state police officer with 27 years on the force asked us not to reveal his name, speaking here as a civilian.
Sono per niente razzista, anzi sono per una integrazione di chi è che vuole far parte del nostro sistema. Ovviamente le differenze di ideologia politica, di religione sicuramente esistono, è inutile negarlo, perché comunque sono persone che provengono da un'altra realtà, completamente da un altro mondo, possiamo dire. Quindi l'integrazione, secondo me, è molto difficile.
The majority of Italians feel the enormity of the displacement crisis.
Many people around the world are opening their hearts and their wallets to help refugees. A non-profit organization cut through miles of red tape in order to start a school for children. Gabriel Mungre has a story.
A Dutch nonprofit organization by the name of Happy Caravan was started in May of 2017. President, founder, and Syrian refugee Aladdin Hanid began Happy Caravan providing education for the children.
When I was working with those beautiful Dutch organization, I was telling them about how important is education and please try to put it in the program and so. But it was hard to change their plan.
Despite the struggle to start Happy Caravan right away, Hanif found a way to create the school in the camp of Thermopylae, about 4 hours north of Athens.
You are not organization or if you are not working with a real organization, you are not allowed to be in touch with the children. And it was a broken heart moment, but it was also the reason of why Happy Caravan started.
Happy Caravan focuses on education, art and creativity, cinema, and sports-related activities.
I see a huge shift in the children, and I've been here almost 6 months, and there's some kids who, when I came, they were this big, and now they're tall, and they're helping, and yeah, it's amazing.
As part of being a nonprofit, volunteers all over the globe come to help out at Happy Caravan.
Happy Caravan has been around for 2 years, but the Dutch organization still plans to expand as much as possible to provide the education the children refugees are seeking. In Greece, Gabriel Mungere reporting.
Happy Caravan has 2 sites north of Athens. 2 former residents of San Jose State's International House help run the programs.
Closer to home at the California-Tijuana border, migrants from Central and South America are hoping to make it to the U.S. But the wait is long. More on their story from Omar Perez.
By foot or any means of transportation they could find, these migrants ended up here in Tijuana, Mexico.
Sí, miren, todo aquí está lleno, miren, pura casita.
An estimated 7,000 migrants from Central America left everything they owned to evade violence and heartache. But when they arrived here, at the world's busiest border crossing, they found an all too familiar barrier.
Pues nosotros éramos hacia nuestro país, pero acá, pues no los han querido, pues la verdad, el racismo, pues no nos quieren ver acá, pero acá estamos haciendo la fuerza.
Hernandez's journey began in the city of San Pedro Sula in Honduras in October of 2018, where he says people are suffering from violence and a corrupt government. There are many migrants who make the 2,700-mile journey to Tijuana say that the unstable environment was enough justification to risk their lives.
Sueño americano. Estar en la USA, estar en Estados Unidos. Primeramente Dios para dejar entrar.
But among the thousands of people here at this migrant camp just on the outskirts of Tijuana, lie many who admit they're not running from violence necessarily. They're migrants like Cesar, born in Honduras, just wanting a better life.
Puedo regresar a mi país cuando quiera. Ya otros sí, otros vienen huyendo y todo, pues. Pero no, yo vengo tranquilo y todo. Yo lo que quiero es una vida mejor, pues. Quiero ser alguien en la vida.
As anticipation grows, migrants are left to fend for themselves yet again, with only one clear solution.
El proceso mío es saltarme esa barda y entrarle, pues, ya adentro, y me agarra migración, entro, pido el asilo, pues no tiene derecho de pedir abogado y todo, pues, y así le voy a entrar.
The situation here at the border is still very complicated, with thousands waiting for asylum papers to go through. Others are waiting for the perfect time to cross by any means necessary. Reporting from Tijuana, Mexico, Omar Perez.
An art installation at the U.S.-Mexico border helped ease some tension. It was designed in part by an SJSU professor. The unusual display turned the border into a playground for one day this summer. 3 pink teeter-totters were installed at the border near El Paso, Texas. When it was designed a decade ago, it was intended to show the balance of trade and labor between the U.S. and Mexico, but it turned into a symbol of unity. SJSU design professor Virginio San Frantello created the project along with her husband, who teaches at UC Berkeley.
On the American side, I was ready with the seats and the handlebars, and I put them in really quickly so that all of the children who had run up could jump on the teeter-totters and play before the Border Patrol showed up.
The Border Patrol let people on both sides play, but the installation came down as fast as it went up. The professors decided it was time to take them back down after one day.
We have arrived at the U.S. border, the gateway to opportunity for many. Coming up, we'll learn about the realities of the pursuit for a better life here in the land of the free.
Stay with us.
Welcome back to Beyond Borders, Refugee Realities. Fleeing from communist Vietnam during the early 1980s was a tumultuous time for many people. Thousands settled into the San Jose area, and as Jessica Jimenez shows us, they made great sacrifices to arrive on U.S. soil.
Ryan, many people living in the Bay Area have stories like this, memories of risking their lives to leave Vietnam. A Campbell restaurant owner sat down with me and told me her story. Tucked in the corner of this Campbell shopping center is Yummy Sandwiches, an unassuming name with a big story behind it. Tu and Calvin Huynh are the owners, whipping up banh mi, spring rolls, and pho, filling out the best life that they could imagine.
My dream is to own a sandwich shop for been a long time dream.
Their restaurant is thriving, exceeding their expectations. For Tu, just making it to America is remarkable.
We escaped. We almost got caught by the communists. If we would have got caught, we would have been killed.
At the age of 2.5, Tu and her parents and her 1.5-year-old brother, Sao Nhong, sailed across the Pacific Ocean from Vietnam to California in a small wooden fishing boat. 17 other people were crammed on board. A week into traveling, the family ran out of food and water, and their bodies went into starvation and dehydration mode.
The kids on the boat were starting to die because we have no food, no nothing.
The only way to stay alive was to drink their own urine, but there was no way to save Sao Nhong.
My younger brother got really sick, and he died.
As children died, their parents wrapped them up and laid them in the boat until they started to smell, and they eventually had to put them in the water.
And I remember saying, "Where's he going?" And they said, "He just needs to sleep." And they just let him down the water, and we watched him float away.
A few days after Sao Nhong's death, a Filipino ship came to their rescue, and after another year, settled in Stockton, California. Growing up in Stockton was not an easy process. She turned to the gang life after her parents separated when she was a teenager.
Little do I know or understand what a gang really is until they started to ask me to do things that, I didn't want to do.
She graduated high school early to make a better life for herself, worked hard, and moved to San Jose, where she met her husband 16 years ago. While customers may not know about all Tu has suffered, they appreciate what she is creating now in her tiny restaurant. Tu and Calvin are hoping to expand their business and pass it down to their daughters when they get older. Live in the newsroom, I'm Jessica Jimenez.
Students from many different countries attend SJSU and come with expectations from the American school system. But are those expectations being met? Adam Yoshikawa reports from the International House.
Aben Kiswarum, an international student from Norway, majors in computer science and has the hopes of finding work after earning his degree. Attending his first semester of SJSU, he has found being among other international students comfortable, having no problem with the curriculum, but found the teaching style interesting.
Because in Norway we just have a big lecture room. Everybody's in one lecture and yeah, that's it. But here it's more like high school, I guess.
International House Director Leanne Tchaikovsky personally meets with her students living in the International House, many of which discuss the differences between attending school in their home country and the U.S.
In the U.S., the emphasis very much is on critical thinking, and it's on challenge. And it's a big adjustment in a lot of cases for students to think, it's okay for me to question the information my professor provided. In a lot of cultures, it's not acceptable.
Johan Bagajo from Switzerland is attending SJSU for one semester for an exchange program which is part of the school's curriculum in Switzerland. Tuition costs was the big difference between Switzerland and the U.S.
Well, I must say tuition is a lot more expensive here, because here, as an international student, you pay almost like $9,000, and I think even locals pay like $4,500, and in Switzerland they pay $800.
12% of students attending SJSU are international, and like many students, they come with expectations from the school. And to the few students that I got to talk to, they're happy, but there is room for improvement. In San Jose, I'm Adam Yoshikawa.
Everyone knows the phrase, the American dream, but it can mean different things to different people. Sometimes the promises of opportunity fall short of expectations, as my own parents have learned. The United States attracts people from all over the world who want to enhance their way of living. People like my mom, who grew up in the Philippines.
My expectation in America was this is the opportunity country, is having to have a changed life when you get here.
Growing up in a third world country means understanding that life will always have some sort of struggle. Hearing fantasies about the United States brings hope, but what if the fantasies aren't at all what they're cracked up to be?
Then when I come here in America, all my thoughts is very wrong.
One of the many struggles that immigrants can face while trying to adjust to American culture is the language barrier.
For me, it's hard for me to explain in English, to explain my side. I understand the English, but the problem is how I express myself.
My mom relied on my dad to be the pioneer for the family. He was working as a delivery driver. She was working in the shipping department of the same company. She entrusted him with all of her paychecks with the assumption that they were being put away to help buy their own house.
Until I find out he doesn't save the money.
One of Mom's biggest worries had to do with her children. She says she wanted to help give me and my brothers a chance to have more than she had, but there was a possibility of all of us being taken away to foster care. Mom and Dad were consistently fighting, and their social workers suggested to them that they should send their children back to the Philippines until they were able to settle themselves here in America. They sent my two older brothers back to the Philippines at the ages of 7 and 11. I was 3, and as an American citizen, I stayed in the U.S.
I think the emotion that I would pick out would be numb. I didn't understand the situation. I just thought that my parents had left me because it was something that I did.
After 4 years of separation and a divorce, my mom and I were reunited with my brothers here in San Jose.
I actually get to know my sister, get to know, my parents, my brother, to know their life.
Sociology professor and director of the Human Rights Institute at San Jose State, William Armelin, says separating a family creates lifelong negative mental and physical effects.
That's usually done in a violent way. It's usually done in a very sudden way, where again, by law enforcement agents who have no connection to anyone.
Armelin says once separated from family, immigrants become especially vulnerable.
You're breaking their family structure, and you're breaking them from those sort of historical and cultural tools that they rely upon to continue to have their identity.
My mother did everything she could in her power to provide for her children. Although taking care of all of us on her own wasn't an easy job, she stayed focused on one thought.
I want them not to have what I experienced, struggle in life, from marriage to real life that I've been through.
Through my mom's sacrifices, my brothers and I have been able to have good jobs and pursue a higher education. She tells us on a regular basis how proud she is of us.
On the SJSU campus, in the midst of the liberal Bay Area, it's easy to find students who stand for loosening immigration laws. But there is another side. The Young Americans for Liberty Club promotes respectful discussion on political hot topics among students that may have different views. One of those topics is immigration. Garrett Canepa, a fifth-year student at SJSU, stands more on the conservative side of things when it comes to this social issue.
I'm not opposed to people coming into the country, but I'm very opposed to people coming into the country illegally and also just a mass importation of people when we can't handle it. I think right now we're facing some issues like unemployment, low wages, just the kind of dissatisfaction with the way society is going.
The club has existed for 4 years, and the average attendance is around 10 students per meeting. Naturally, tensions may arise in these conversations, but to clear the air, the group takes outings to get food after each meeting.
That's what a university is supposed to be, a place where people can air their divergent thoughts.
And that's what that club was. I mean, everybody in there was so vocal about their opinions and respectful of one another.
When we come back, we'll see how organizations and filmmakers are helping refugees here in California.
Beyond Borders Refugee Realities returns in a minute.
Thanks for staying with us. Many SJSU students are first-generation Americans who are navigating the college system on their own, but they can find help here on campus. Bree Sheets shows us how.
This hate has to go! All this hate has to go!
At the National Day of Action for I Stand With Immigrants, held Tuesday, Brenda Pantoja helped organize San Jose State's events. Pantoja is a business marketing senior who interns at Spartan's Resource Center, helping undocumented students find the resources they need on campus.
I want to celebrate myself, the contributions my family and I have made to this country, so we are celebrating, all of us.
Pantoja is also an undocumented student.
You know, life after college for undocumented people is really tough because you're not guaranteed employment since people don't have social security numbers or any other type of work authorization.
Anna Navarrete is a program coordinator for Spartan.
So we want to make sure that folks understand that these issues are intersectionary. They deal with, students' identities are impacted by their immigration status in various ways. So we want to make sure that we have those resources available for them.
The center, located here at Clark Hall, is a place where students can learn educational opportunities and spread the word to others. Different booths at the Stand for Immigrants Day informed about the 2020 census, the Office of Diversity and Equity, and the Cesar E. Chavez Community Action Center.
Just to kind of stand together and remind each other like we're still human beings, just because the color of our skin is different or because we come from other places doesn't necessarily mean that we need to have this division amongst each other.
There was a photo background to take pictures and free t-shirts available, just to remind students about the many resources Spartan can provide. On campus, I'm Bree Sheets.
Independent filmmakers are shining a light on immigration. They're focusing on films that tell refugee stories. The Awareness Film Festival brought hundreds of people to downtown Los Angeles this month. One filmmaker followed a Sudanese refugee as she tried to locate her family after she fled from the war.
Living, dreaming, those things I don't have it in my life.
This film festival is just one of many that focus on immigration. Another will be held at LA Live next Saturday.
And finally, the moment that immigrants here in the U.S. wait for. This ceremony took place in Campbell this week.
I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure.
It's very exciting to finally be a citizen and finally have this kind of being able to call it my home, even though I've been living in the US since I was 7 years old. It's interesting, but at the same time I feel like I still very much so apply myself to like Armenia, where I'm from.
Defend the Constitution and laws of the United States of America.
I'm excited that I'm going to be able to vote in this election for the first time and have my opinion matter.
From Europe and Asia to Mexico and the United States, migrants and refugees are leaving their home countries in pursuit of a happy and safe life.
We saw some of that optimism and success, but we also saw struggle, danger, disappointment. That is the reality of many refugees.
Through journalism, we're able to tell these stories, and in the future, we'll be able to look back and see how these situations have changed.
From all of us here, thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.